This week, we are going to be facing our fear. We've talked about goals, we've talked about plans, and yet in life, you're eventually going to have to face your fear. So, we're going to face the fear of mine live on the show and talk about what it's like to face your fears every day and the optimism it'll drive. We've been consistent about doing what we know what is best for us as we, for me at least, as I master the mundane. That's been a battle cry of mine for this year. Master the mundane. And Mondays are the days that I do all the things that I otherwise would put off. That's where I create my content. That's the day that I do my meetings. That's the day that I face the things that I otherwise will find excuses for later in the week. So earlier today, I have a producer, Taylor. He's behind the camera. He does the Trash Talk Business Podcast. Great guy. Interviewed him years ago for a job. Things didn't work out with the company that I was interviewing him for. It was one of the startups that I had at one point. And yet we remain in contact, and now he produces all my stuff. Every Monday, he texts me and says, hey, what do you want to talk about this week? And I have an idea, or I have something I pull from the book, or I have an experience from the weekend I want to dive into. And he said, I got a poem for you this week. And my initial thought was fear and anxiety instantly, because I thought, okay, I don't know anything about this poem. Why would I want to jump into something that I know nothing about and then do it live? That doesn't sound great. Reading, not my thing. I was in slow kids reading. I went to Catholic school, and I was in slow kids reading from the second grade until the sixth or seventh grade. I struggle with dyslexia. I still confuse the word what and want because they look the exact same to me. I was the hooked on phonics kid. Even now, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and as I teach her how to spell, I can remember being in her shoes back then. I really struggle with pronunciation, spelling, and it leads to a contributing factor is I was diagnosed with ADD, and I've had it all my life. I still have it. I watch content about ADD, and it's not a crutch. It's an understanding of who I am as a person. And what it leads to is a fear of not being in control. So reading somebody else's work is not my own words. Now I have to read somebody else's words without adding in my own words, because I typically like to change things to make them my own or make them make sense to me. And then also B, reading out loud. I've struggled with that. I've struggled with the sound of my voice. I've struggled with the cadence. And I got over that in public speaking. I can get in front of a group and do a panel where it's all Q&A. I can get up and do keynotes where it's my ideas. I continue to struggle reading from teleprompters, reading from notes, reading from slides. I struggle with it, and I'm aware of it. Earlier today, I was shooting a video for Camo Crew that I've put off for a month because I did it a few times right here in my office, and I did it in front of a Zoom camera, and I had it up right here on a Microsoft Word doc, and I did it. It wasn't like that old adage, I tried. No, I did it, and it was crap. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel confident in doing it. I was sitting down. I wasn't standing. I didn't have someone give me visual clues. So today I set the scenario that worked really well for me, which was had a teleprompter, shot the video down in the warehouse. It was cold. That calmed my nerves. And after 3 takes, third take, I nailed it, right? And it's because I faced my fear. I did it poorly, and then I put it off. And I know that about myself. I come on here every week and challenge everybody to push themselves. And I use this as my own check. Am I pushing myself and challenging myself? And so today I'm going to read a poem that Taylor shared with me. I read it one time through, so I understood all the words. And the few words I didn't understand what they were, I looked them up because we have this beautiful thing called the internet. The other thing about this poem that's interesting, it uses words that I despise. If and but. The words I talk about in my book that I've removed from my vernacular. And yet I want to give credence to the writer, so I'm going to read their words without making it my own and see how much I can appreciate it. Because a couple weeks ago in the show, I talked about find your forum, and others will appreciate the beauty that you have. I wrote a poem years ago. It was published, and that was like my first, okay, I might have something here as an artist. I'm drawing or sculpting or painting isn't my jam, and yet I can still contribute to the world. So I do have an appreciation for poems. The poem called If by Rudyard Kipling. Fun fact, this guy wrote the Jungle Book that Disney later remade into a film. So there's the history I learned from Rudyard Kipling. Here we go. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired of waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your thought long after they are gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son. As I read this, I want to focus so much on the words that I don't agree with, the word if and but and just. I want to focus on the word knaves, which I never heard of, an old English word to mean dishonest or unscrupulous man. I want to focus so much on one sentence and go down a rabbit hole and say, oh yeah, maybe I do that, or I'm guilty of that. I see the line about, if you can trust yourself when others doubt you. I've definitely given credence to other people's perspective of me. And I learned years ago from Les Brown, people's opinion of you is none of your business, right? As much as I want to get sucked into the words and the nuances, I, in this moment, need to focus on the greater peace. A couple months ago, I was at a retreat, and we were doing these team building activities. And we had this moon, we called it, right? It was a ball. We had to move from one place to another using strings, and it was all about teamwork, right? I am one that gets so meticulously focused on the strings. I get focused on the task. I get focused on my responsibility and everybody else's. I lose focus of the overall goal. The goal was to focus on the moon. And after that exercise, we went around the big circle and said, okay, what did you guys learn? It was like communication, teamwork, have a good plan. And my takeaway was, focus on the moon, not the strings. And even in this poem now, focus on what are they saying. And what he's saying is these are the dualities of life, right? If you can dream and not make your dreams a master. So it's, yes, have dreams, dream big, and yet don't make that your end all be all. If you can think and not make your thoughts your aim, that's another one I struggle with. I love thinking. But thinking for thinking's sake gets you nowhere. Why are you thinking? Are you thinking about making yourself better, making the world a better place? And then once you've thought about it, what are you going to do about it? The academics will sit back and think and ponder, and yet they don't move the world forward. They don't make things happen until they do the research and come up with studies and actually invent things or processes or impact people. So for me, it's a real struggle for me to go word by word and understand the overall moon. For me, it's a struggle to come on here and share my ideas with the world. And even more, it's a struggle for me to share those ideas with everybody else. And yet people I look up to, David Goggins, he wrote a few books, but he's known as Stay Hard. That's his thing. And every day he does something difficult, something that's going to suck, because that's going to elevate him. I said from the top of the show, what we're going to talk about today is facing your fears to build in that optimism. Every time you accomplish something, it releases a little bit of dopamine. I talk about it in my book. Endure the hustle. Get to it. Get to getting somewhere. Embrace the struggle, and then enjoy the grind. In this simple example here, right? Endure the hustle. Every week at 15:30, I come on here and I share my ideals with the world. I struggle through what is the topic. I struggle through getting started. And once I get it and I get over that little bit of a hump, I get over my own psyche, my own limiting self-beliefs, I get to sit back and enjoy the grind. I can enjoy speaking and reading. Even the cadence, as I started reading, I got more confident in my voice. I started to enunciate a little bit more. I slowed down and hit words a little bit harder because I had the confidence to do so. Because I put the work in when I did my audio book to learn how to speak different than talking. Reading is different than talking. I also took the time earlier today to read this poem. I took the time to talk to Taylor. I took the time to look up the pronunciation and meaning of words I didn't understand. So I have the confidence because I put in the work, and yet I still had to face my fear. It's not that I did all the work and then I was like, I did all the work, and yet I didn't accomplish the mission. I still swung through the pitch. I still faced a fear of mine, which is reading out loud in public. And some may say, that's no big deal. Why is it a big deal? And I'll ask you, what is your fear? What is stopping you? What is something so simple for most that you struggle with? Something you've put off for hours or days or months or even years? What's that thing that you haven't faced yet? Because when you go through the hustle, the struggle, the grind of life, the next time you dip down, you're going to put dirt between your boots. You're going to be a step above where you were before. My challenge to you is simple this week. We've talked about goals. We've talked about schedules. We've talked about plans. We've talked about little life hacks. What fear is preventing you from moving forward? Write it down. Face it. Tell somebody about it. When you write it down, you're 42% more likely to do it. When you tell somebody else, you're 78% more likely to do it. I come on here every week and talk about where I'm going in my life to remind myself where I'm going, because there's times I don't believe in myself. It's not egotistical or cocky. It's me reminding myself that I'm on this journey. I'm going somewhere. And if I want to go far, I'm going to go with others. If I want to go fast, I'll go alone. I ask you guys week in and week out to join me on this journey because I'm going far and we are going together. Look within yourself. What is your fear? Write it down. Who do you want to join you on the journey? As always, the 3 steps of life are very simple. Do the fucking thing, tell the fucking world, and show the fuck up.